Tonight's episode takes us to Hollywood, a symbol of hope and prosperity for those who make their way to this elusive city at a chance at becoming the next big motion picture movie star. Join us as we explore the tragic tales of two stars who came to this city in search for an opportunity but never finished. Grab some popcorn, dim the lights, and enjoy as we explore the tragedies of these Hollywood stars only on The House of Strange. This first tale of tragedy involves British stage and screen actress Peg Entwistle. Her story has ingrained itself in Hollywood's own memory, so much so that it remains one of the most famous deaths to have ever occurred here in Hollywood, gaining her the nickname the Hollywood Sign Girl. Entwistle, a woman who at a very young age came to Hollywood in hopes of making it big, instead took her own life by jumping off the letter H atop the famed Hollywood sign after her career didn't end up where she wanted it to. Instead, it made its way through Hollywood's own pop culture history and into The House of Strange.
Where I'm standing right now is where Peg Entwistle first started her journey on the path to the Hollywood sign. And to my right is where she lived with her uncle, trying to establish her Hollywood career. But since things didn't work out too well for her, she decided to take her own life. And where I'm walking right now is the exact same path she took to get to the H where she ultimately jumped off and met her untimely demise.
Entwistle, a talented Broadway actress, had just completed her first picture titled 13 Women when her performance was cut from the final presentation and her contract with RKO Pictures terminated. The film premiered 1 month after her death, and the original cut of the film, which featured over 16 minutes of her performance, had been cut to just about 4 after a test cut of the picture performed poorly with test audiences. On the night of September 6, 1932, she was staying at her uncle's house on Beechwood Drive when she decided to take a walk, telling her uncle she was, as her uncle put it, going to keep a rendezvous with a friend. Instead of meeting with her friend, she walked up Beechwood Drive and hiked up to the Hollywoodland sign, climbing up the letter H of the Hollywoodland sign, and jumped to her death at the age of 24. Soon after her death, a hiker who had chosen to remain anonymous found her belongings at the foot of the Hollywoodland sign, and after further investigating, saw Entwistle's lifeless body at the bottom of the mountain. The items included a shoe, jacket, and a purse, and the purse included a suicide note that read, "I am afraid, I am a coward, I am sorry for everything. If I had done this a long time ago, it would have saved a lot of pain. P.E." The hiker wrapped up her personal belongings and placed them outside the steps of the Hollywood police station. Entwistle's death was widely published and sensationalized across almost all major news outlets at the time, along with her death note. Since her death, she has become a Hollywood legend in ways she probably never imagined. In the 88 years that followed her death, many across the world traveled to Hollywood to learn about the tragic story of Peg Entwistle. Her life and experiences have been subject of many works from music to television shows. Those who have been brave enough to make the hike up to the Hollywood sign at night claim to smell the scent of gardenias at the location, her favorite perfume. This next story remains unsolved to this day and is filled with mystery. A disappearance, a few unknowns, and a night of tragedy mixed together to bring us the story of Jean Elizabeth Spangler, an American model and actress who took part in several Hollywood films in the late 1940s, but on the evening of October 7, 1949, her memory made its way into The House of Strange. Born in Seattle, Washington, Spangler attended high school here in Los Angeles before she starred in her first motion picture in 1948, appearing as a dancer in several uncredited movie roles such as Walter Lang's When My Baby Smiles, the comedy picture Chicken Every Sunday, and a musical drama called Young Man with a Horn. But on the evening of October 7, 1949, Spangler left her home telling her sister-in-law Sophie she was going to meet with her ex-husband before going to work on a movie as an extra. She was last seen alive at a grocery store several blocks away from her home at about 6 p.m., and after she failed to arrive home that night, Sophie called the police to file a missing persons case. 2 days later, her purse was found near the Ferndale entrance of Griffith Park about 5 miles from her home. Inside her purse was a letter addressed to a man named Kirk, which mentioned seeing a doctor.
We're at the tail end of Griffith Park right now, at the Ferndale Trail. And this is what authorities believe to be the last known location of Jean Spangler. And this is where authorities actually found her purse, along with that huge controversial note that she left behind that leads people to believe that maybe she was kidnapped, or maybe that the famous actor Kirk Douglas was involved somehow, or that maybe she just up and just left. I mean, there's so many theories as to what exactly happened to Miss Spangler, but it feels surreal to be in the location where she was potentially forcefully taken, or that she maybe hopped in a car and just left and never looked back. But it just feels kind of weird, you know, to be around where the last known whereabouts of somebody was.
Considering her recent work in a picture titled Young Man with a Horn, which starred actor Kirk Douglas, many assumed he had killed her, but he soon called the Palm Springs police, as he was in Palm Springs at the time of her death, to clear his name of any wrongdoing. After police contacted the studio she was supposedly working at, they verified she was not due for work that night.
I wanted to raise a question regarding why did Jean choose the Ferndale Trail to get picked up from? It doesn't make sense to me. She could have been picked up from anywhere. I mean, anywhere more public, because as you can see, this is kind of like a, you know, lonely place. And according to her sister, she left at sundown. So she got picked up from this place pretty much when it was dark and not many people were here anymore. So if this Dr. Scott actually picked her up over here, why this place? Like, this is a really specific place to get picked up from. And it doesn't really make sense to me, but did she even get picked up from here? Or were her belongings just dropped over here to throw police off the trail? I mean, that's just one of the many questions that this case brings up, but based on the evidence, this was where they found her belongings, so this is where they assumed she was last seen, or last known whereabouts as to where she was. And we may never know.
Her purse was later found near the Ferndale entrance of Griffith Park, just 5.5 miles from her home. Both straps of the purse were torn, indicating that it may have been ripped from her arm. 60 police officers and over 400 volunteers combed through the 4,000 acres of Griffith Park with no success. No money was found in the purse, but after clarification from her sister-in-law and daughter of the absence of money in the purse before she left the house, theft was ruled out. The note in her purse read, "Kirk, can't wait any longer. Going to see Dr. Scott. It will work best this way while Mother is away." Neither Kirk nor Dr. Scott could be located, even after the LAPD questioned every Dr. Scott in the entire city and asked the family for a possible Kirk character.
Now comes the final question. What exactly happened to Jean Spangler? Was she killed by Kirk Douglas? Was she killed by this Dr. Scott? Or could it have been her ex-husband? The reality is, we may never know the answer to that. But what's interesting is that this is still an open, ongoing investigation by the LAPD into the Spangler case. Now, my personal theory is that Dr. Scott may have been the person responsible for her death. I mean, remember, abortions were illegal back in the day, and they were performing an illegal act upon doing an abortion, and it could have gone wrong. I mean, what was Dr. Scott gonna do? I mean, looking at it from the perspective of a criminal, was he gonna say, call 911 and be like, hey guys, I was doing an abortion? No, he's gonna go to jail and he's gonna lose his license. So that to me seems like the more realistic answer as to like something went wrong and he disposed of the body. That's what I believe. I don't believe that Kirk Douglas, Michael Douglas's father, killed Jean Spangler. I mean, the police even interviewed him and he denied the allegations. Just because he denied them doesn't mean he's innocent, right? But I firmly believe that Dr. Scott was the person responsible for Jean Spangler's death. I mean, she even wrote it in her letter, which said that she was going to get picked up by a Dr. Scott. Unfortunately, police never found out who this Dr. Scott was, so the case, again, will probably remain unsolved.
When Spangler's mother Florence returned to Los Angeles, she told police that someone named Kirk had picked up Jean at her house twice but stayed in his car and did not come in. Another investigation revealed that Jean had an affair with a man named Scotty, who had been an Air Corps lieutenant during her marriage. This man had allegedly acted violently toward her and even went as far as to threatening to murder her. Scotty's lawyer came forward and claimed that after an affair ended in 1945, they had not spoken since, leading investigators to drop this lead. Spangler's disappearance generated various theories, which ranged from her alleged death in a botched abortion to her fleeing with the Los Angeles gangsters from the likes of Anthony Cornero and Mickey Cohen, with whom she was acquainted with. To date, no additional evidence has been uncovered in the Spangler case, and her whereabouts remain unknown. Many people report sightings of Spangler, but none of these sightings have been confirmed. If you feel like you have any theories to suggest what may have happened to Jean Spangler, we'd love to read them in the comments section below, but for now, her case is unsolved and still a mystery. There's a lot that remains unexplained in both these cases, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Peg Entwistle was faced with the reality of Hollywood when she took her own life after not being as successful as she wanted to be, and Jean Spangler was a victim of unknown circumstances. Not all is what it seems, and when everything we think to be true is ripped away like a mask, the harshness of reality shines bright. All we're left to do is learn from them and listen to their stories. Stories that live on here in the House of Strange.